So today we're going to talk about monetization, the different monetization models that exist, the pros and cons of each, and my thoughts on what you should be using based on what kind of products and services you want to be selling. There are three main monetization models: B2B, B2C, and B2C2B. So what do the B and the C stand for? Well, B stands for business and C stands for consumer. So B2C is business to consumer, B2B is business to business, and then B2C2B is business to consumer to business. Before I jumped into the startup world, the lines between B2C and B2B were very, very clear. The key difference between them was who is giving you the money. If it's a person and you're giving them a credit card receipt, then it's B2C. If it's a business and you're giving out an invoice, then it was B2B. With the SaaS startups on the rise, the lines have blurred. Take Slack as an example. If I'm a startup paying for Slack, but I don't require any customization, there's no upfront setup cost or setup time, I just click and go just like any other consumer, then is that B2B or B2C? Well, it looks a lot like B2C, but Slack is receiving the money from a business, which means it's technically B2B. Let's unpack that a little bit. Let's start with B2C. So business to consumer models tend to rely more on marketing than they do on sales. When it comes to startups, the startup world in general, and many SMEs, there's no clear guideline for where marketing stops and where sales starts. So the B2C model looks more like a funnel. What you're doing is driving traffic either to your website if you're an online service or e-commerce site, or you're driving traffic to your restaurant, your store, your brick and mortar SME. B2C models are based on driving traffic to the point of sale and then converting. So traffic and conversion. How many people visit your point of sale? And out of those people, how many of them bought something? The last B2C component is, of course, the ticket size. Either it's a one-time buy or lifetime value in SaaS terms. How much revenue is generated per customer? If I have to generalize, we usually talk about ABCs: attract, bring back, check size. This is sort of the standard model of B2C. The pros of the B2C model are that you can always scale. So what does scale mean? What scale means is that out of every next customer, out of every next buyer, your expenses do not increase. If you have 1,000 clients or 10,000 clients, your costs are more or less the same. You might have a particular variable cost that might increase, but your fixed costs will remain the same. For example, let's say you're Amazon. You have 50 developers working on your e-commerce site. If that site has 10,000 customers or 100,000 customers, your development team can handle the load. So there's no need to hire more people. The cost of services for 10 times more customers is the same. Thus, you're able to scale. So what this means is that the more that you sell, the more clients you get, the more profit you start generating, because the more and more you drive profit margin. The cons of the B2C model is that actually getting to that scale can take a very, very long time. It's an organic process. You're driving traffic to your point of sale and trying to convert. It's a lot of experimentation. It's a lot of A/B testing. It's a lot of hit and miss. So it takes a longer time to get to that actual scale you're looking for, to get to that pro side of the B2C model. Although there are cases where you become massively popular overnight and hit that scale faster, but this would be the exception to the rule. The second con is that your check size, or in startup lingo, your monthly recurring revenue, MRR, tends to grow slower because consumers will buy $10, $15, $25 worth of your product or your service, in contrast to businesses that can buy in more significant bulk. Although this slow and steady approach might be okay for you, it most likely is not going to be okay for the VCs and the investors. They want to see massive jumps of revenue every month. That's where B2B comes in. So B2B is business to business. B2B is a little bit more sales-based than marketing-based. Of course, there are still marketing processes that you have to do, but whatever you're doing in the marketing field acts more like fog. It creates an atmosphere to help along your sales cycle. Then the sales part is really when you're trying to engage one-on-one and trying to push through a contract. This is where the rubber meets the road. The pros are that you get huge MRR growth. It's a big bump. It's a $4,000 a month contract. It's a $10,000 a month contract. So your MRR goes from $10,000 to $20,000 with one client in one sale. So you get to show your venture capital firms and your investors this giant leap in revenue. The con side is scaling is slower. You tend to hire people before you have a need, which bloats your overhead in the hopes that it'll pay off in the long run. You hire sales managers and developers before you need them. If in the B2C case you have a one-size-fits-all solution, then in the B2B model, you have to customize, or what's called an enterprise solution. Enterprise solution in itself means that a product or service customized specifically for your client's needs. There's a feature, there's an interface element, there's a management tool element that's different from the standard product and service you have. This can be very resource intensive. The second con is that businesses you sell will require face time with management. You have to have account managers or sales managers, people that can call and receive calls. So if, let's say you're selling a product or a service to Microsoft, well, they're going to want to talk to somebody. They're going to want to have a call. They just don't want to call the hotline or text the chatbot. This means that how many clients can one sales manager serve? Well, most likely it can be 4, 5, 6, maybe 10. If you're super efficient, let's say 15, just to be a good sport. That means that every 16th client you bring in, you must hire an additional sales manager and so forth. So there's an issue with scale. Your costs grow with every client. Last but not least, your revenue portfolio is not diversified. If you have 4 or 5 substantial B2B clients and they're generating 70-80% of your monthly recurring revenue and something goes wrong, it's going to be a massive hit to your income. This risk is especially relevant in the 21st century. COVID happens, war happens, these things happen in the world. And if 2 of your top clients drop out, you're screwed. So let's talk a little bit about one of my favorite models, the balanced model, or B2C to B. What does that mean? B2C to B basically means that you have a product or a service that either consumers or businesses can use. In the B2C to B model, your marketing process is run like they would if you're a B2C company. Drive traffic and convert, the funnel approach. You have hotline, you have chatbots that help with customer success, and you do not have an enterprise solution, so no customization. But at the same time, you keep your eyes open for what we call microclusters. Microclusters are a group of users that have the same email address domain. Let's say you're Canva, and you see that you have 10 users registered from Harvard University domain. For example, John at harvard.edu, Sarah at harvard.edu, Clyde at harvard.edu, etc. You can easily assume that you have a product or service that's relevant to the university itself. And only then do you have your salesperson contact Harvard and say, listen, I have a microcluster of users from your firm that are using my products or services. Why don't I offer you an enterprise deal? In this case, you do not have to customize your product. They're already using it as is, which allows for scale. At the same time, you bump up your revenue because you're signing a contract with a bigger ticket university. The best of both worlds. In my experience negotiating with VCs and investors, I have difficulty finding a pattern. Some of them prefer the B2C model and slow and steady. Others prefer grow big now, so the B2B model. Listening to investors and advisors can send you mixed signals. Me specifically, I'm more for the B2C to B model. I like having my community engaged in my product. I like them being part of our company as stakeholders. I am pro Web 3.0 and decentralization. I want my users to have a say in how the company is managed and our roadmap. But at the same time, I understand that I have to boost my MRR, my revenue, which is where the 2B component comes in to play. Do you agree that the lines between B2C and B2B have been blurred? What model are you using? What was your experience talking to VCs? Let me know in the comment section below. That's it for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. And once again, if you like what you see, please subscribe and I'll see you next week.